The third annual Sommo Festival is taking place September 13th and 14th, 2025. Beautiful Cavendish, Prince Edward Island. Can't wait to get back. And we're joined once again by CEO of Whitecap Entertainment, who is organizing the festival once again, Ben Murphy. Ben, how's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, and love talking with Sommo.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump right into the music and talk about this year's artist, starting with the Saturday headliner, a Canadian icon, 7-time Grammy Award winner, 15-time Juno Award winner, someone that's really been singing on the soundtrack of my life since I was a teenager. And she's one of those global stars that you know exactly who you're talking about just by saying her first name, Alanis Morissette. So what's the buzz like on the East Coast for Alanis coming to Sommo this year, Ben?
Yeah, I think anytime you get a chance to book like a legend or whatever you want to call her, in that it's pretty special. And, I think over the years with Sommo, like it's trended a little older than maybe your normal festival audience. And I think Alanis just kind of hits home and hits that demographic just perfect. And like you said, she's been playing for so long. I think it's the 30th anniversary of the Jagged Little Pill album, and just having her on PEI for the first time in close to 20 years, I think. Pretty exciting to be able to get her and to get her to come to PEI. And she's doing these Lollapaloozas in Brazil and all these massive festivals around the world. So I think the show is going to be amazing, and you hear nothing but rave reviews about her live set. So personally, thrilled to see her too.
I think that's a testament to what Sommo has become, that to get someone like Alanis on your bill, it's that speaks to what you guys are doing out there. But I wanted to ask you too, like, to land someone like Alanis for your festival, like, when does that decision making process start, Ben? Is that an ongoing thing? Like, is she someone that's always kind of been, since you started this, kind of shortlisted as someone that you'd like to bring there?
Yeah, absolutely. When we created Sommo, she was on the list of potential like headliners that we would like to dream of getting one day. So that's pretty special. We're always booking like the big acts. We're talking to them like 12 to 18 months out, trying to figure out, they're booking their tours a year in advance, the bigger ones anyway. So just trying to figure out when PEI in September, and does that work for everyone and what's around.
So certainly excited for Alanis and pumped for the day 2 headliner as well, Hozier. Love his song Too Sweet, and I feel like Hozier's vibe, it really encompasses what Sommo Fest is all about, the feel, the energy, the serenity, and really that positive vibe. And I feel like too, like if someone created a Sommo Fest theme song, I feel like Hozier could handle those duties and do that very well.
I think Hozier could handle a lot of duties in the whole song thing. But yeah, Hozier was we do the post-festival surveys. Hozier was our number one requested act following 2024's festival. So to have the opportunity, like rarely, even on Cavendish Beach, rarely do we get the opportunity to book our fans' number one requested act. So, when we had the opportunity to do that, it's, seems like a no-brainer.
100%. And I feel like any festival that's going on this year, he's managing to headline like at least one of the days for all across Canada, all across the US. Like, he's all over the place. So to have him in PEI, yeah.
Fun about Sommo in September is you get these little previews of these guys' festival sets all summer. So like you see those snippets, and so obviously Hozier was at Outside Lands like a couple weeks ago, and you're just like, you're checking them out and you're like, oh, I can't wait for that to be on PEI. So we're thrilled and can't wait for him.
100%. I know for the past year, every time we heard Greta Van Fleet or Noah Kahan, last year's headliners at Sommo, it transported us, whether we were streaming it or heard it on the radio, it transported us back to PEI, even in the dead of winter. But that was a really cool feeling, and I'm anticipating having those same feelings as we hear Alanis and Hozier moving forward. So I'm looking forward to that. But we know we've talked, Ben, about the headliners, but there's a ton of great artists and great bands that are on the bill this year. So who are some of those artists that you're looking forward to?
Wow, there's so many great ones, and it's like some of the down the list too is probably the top of my list. Personally, probably St. Paul and the Broken Bones. They're open for Alanis. I caught them a couple years ago, and just like an amazing live show, tons of energy, big powerful band behind them. So I think they're going to be super special. Alice Merton's got some huge hits. She's like a little earlier in the day, like one of the smaller bands. I think they're on Sunday. Ichiban's. They're playing the Sandbar stage. And they're like kind of like a Japanese surf rock, rockabilly type of music. Like I think that's going to be, a pretty special set in the Sandbar stage. And yeah, so there's so many acts, and I can't wait to hopefully catch most of them, but we'll see.
Yeah, I love the way you guys set it up too. Like you have the main stage, which is out in the open, but you have that kind of that other stage in the back there that's you can kind of get out of the sun if you need to, but there's just continuous music all day, and it's such a cool experience for sure. Obviously great music, but it's a true festival. The food, the drinks, and some of these like kind of culinary demonstrations that are going to be taking place.
Yeah, so our third stage is a full-on culinary stage. So we bring in chefs and they do little demos up there, and hopefully we can convince some of the musicians to pop up for like some little fun guest appearances to help them, cut some carrots or whatever they need. So that's been a pretty cool part of Sommo that's grown over the last couple of years. But more for like the tasting, we have Taste of Sommo, which we're really trying to build. And so we have these elevated food vendors. We partnered with a lot of restaurants over the island, and rather than trying to expand the menu on some of these, they just focus on doing one thing very well, not something necessarily that you're going to get at other everyday festivals. So, and this year too, which is the first, is two of our chefs from the culinary stage are doing vendor booths in the Taste of Sommo area, so you're going to be able to taste some of that stuff. So Old Time Hockey's doing a little bit of like a banana split thing, so that's exciting to build on that for this year after his appearance last year with Noah. And Lauren Toyota's doing like a vegan crabbles cake thing, which will be super cool. But just giving all the fans a little bit more opportunity to interact and try some of that food stuff, in addition to, the wood-fired pizzas and beef sandwiches, and we're doing a little like parm pasta thing this year. So there's so many intricacies there, which is always fun to kind of come up with. And then we have our beverage program too, which we're always... When we created Sommo, we really wanted to highlight local producers, and we have craft beer, we've got Clouding Tides, we got Burnside Brewing out of Halifax, New Maritime out of Miramichi, Benjamin Bridge Wines out of the Valley. So many different options to eat and drink your way through the festival and support local while doing it. And we have some higher end bars too. Like last year, the Margarita Bar was pretty popular. So there's all sorts of different levels of tequila, whiskey, champagne, all sorts of stuff we can get.
So lots of options, lots of different to satisfy everyone's taste. There's lots of different options. So anyone that's coming will be looking forward to that as well. But I wanted to go back a little bit too, Ben. I know yourself and your team at Whitecap, you really didn't just create Sommo out of nothing. You had already laid kind of the foundation for running an event like this with the great success of the Cavendish Beach Music Festival. So maybe talk to me a little bit about that and how it grew and expanded or branched off into also having Sommo Festival.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Cavendish was started in 2009, and it was just people, the four owners back then, that wanted to drive tourism to PEI and create an experience on PEI. So, we started 5,000 people a day back in 2009, and it's just, it kind of got a little gas poured on the fire. We got Taylor Swift in year 2, so obviously she wasn't who she is now, but still quite large, and we sold it. So that kind of allowed us to accelerate a little bit, and then just continue to refine and focus on what we do, and trying to create that festival experience for people that's not your typical festival experience, make it more enjoyable for people to come and go, because that's probably one of the main things that we hear is like, I don't like crowds or whatever, I don't want to go. But then you get them there and they're like, oh, wow, I could put my chair here, or there's different areas, or the site's so big I can I find my own spot. So over the last 15 years, just every year tweaking it, and we own the site, so we can add some infrastructure there. So a second event was always kind of in the back of our minds, and kind of post-COVID changed a bunch of things, and kind of, so once we plugged it back in 2022, plugged Cavendish Beach back in, it just seemed like the right time in 23 to really kind of try to get another event off the ground, use our relationships that we've built in the music industry, and try to bring more than just, global country acts and try to, create something, again, that's really, it's still doing the same thing that Cavendish did. We're trying to bring people to show them, how amazing PEI is and how amazing the East Coast is. And that's for our fans, but also the artists. The artists, like you see it on all the social posts after, they thoroughly enjoy their time here, and hopefully, we can bring them back.
Once you get there, it's easy to fall in love pretty much immediately when you're on the East Coast and specifically in PEI. But I wanted to go back a little bit further too, Ben. So for you guys, it takes a community. It takes a dedicated team to make events like this happen. But I wanted to go back for you specifically, Ben. Like, where did this originate for you? Like, where was that spark, for you as an entrepreneur or you as a leader, that has led to you helping organize two of the biggest events for the entire province of Prince Edward Island?
In 2009, I was the first employee of Cavendish Beach Music Festival. So that's kind of how it all kind of came together. So I, would work at the festivals in the summer, go to university in the winter, and kind of, a very ops focused role, and really knew nothing about the business. And one of my old hockey coaches was one of the owners, and that's how I got in there. And so over the years, I've done all sorts of different roles. The ownership has changed a couple times throughout the number of years, and then we took full ownership of the festival through COVID, as a couple of the owners just decided that there was different priorities, and they were at different stages of their careers. So it was a natural kind of fitting that way. But then I think too, I've always loved music, and that's instilled, I'd say, from my mom, and she loves music, and I think it's just a natural synergy that way, and really just kind of evolved into what it is today, and you're just always learning, and how do we do better and bring better people. So I think, like you said, we have an incredible team now, super dedicated, that are completely bought in to be making people's experiences the best we can. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do, and we want to be here for a long time and trying to figure out how that all kind of works out.
Right on. So it sounds like you really caught a wave and just been riding it and kind of gathering up great people along the way. So that's awesome to hear kind of your background there. Maybe one last question here I wanted to ask you too, Ben. So as I mentioned to you when we started, it was the first time that we were in PEI last year, fell in love about everything about it. So, for the people that are making maybe that first trip to the island, I know it's, this event's all about tourism, bringing people there. But for those people that are attending for the first time, besides attending Sommo Festival, obviously, what recommendations do you have for people to really truly capture that PEI experience and while they're visiting here?
You can drive tip to tip in 3 hours. So it's I think exploring around the island, there's so many amazing little nooks and crannies, whether it's restaurants or little shops, from the west to the east of the island. Obviously the beaches get lots of play, some of the best around. Same with golf courses. The Golf PEI does an amazing job, if you're a golfer, of just the quality of courses and the number of courses in a small range. Just in Cavendish, there's from the Cavendish site, there would be 4 top tier courses within a 10-minute drive. There's 2 within a driver, of one on each side. So they do such a good job. And then obviously the food and drink thing is no joke. The fresh seafood, the beef, all the restaurants around they do such a good job promoting local, and just the care that goes into freshness of the produce and all that stuff. We take for granted a bit that it's just what we get. So it's, just eat and drink your way through the island and go to the beach and just, we joke, we're a little bit on a slower pace on PEI, and it takes you a couple of days probably to get there. And maybe the festival's not the best way to do that. But once you kind of get down to it, it's I think people really enjoy that, like you mentioned.
100%. So Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. We're super excited to see you in a couple weeks. Thanks for taking the time. 3rd annual Sommo Festival, September 13th and 14th, Cavendish, Prince Edward Island, Alanis, Hozier, tons of other great bands, food, drinks. Visit sommofest.com for all the details. So Ben, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.